Here we go with a bit of an update and trying to explain to you exactly what's going on with this storm, and we'll look at the whole fleet just to give you their intentions. So we're spread out a long way. We can't fit the fleet in, as you know. Right over here is Igor, and right off the screen is Jean-Luc. So we'll get them out of the way first. So we'll come across here. Igor is still making for, I'll just zoom in on this a bit. Still making for St. Paul Island, and here we come. So still making for St. Paul Island. We're still, St. Paul Island is just there. I'll zoom that in just so you can see a relative space for that. We're just actually checking that this is actually transmitting. It is, okay, because I had a few problems with Facebook today. I couldn't load anything for 4 hours, so it looks as if it's back on track. Wasn't our problem, it was a Facebook problem. Anyway, Igor's just here. This is St. Paul Island, but there's some issues there. Their team is trying to find out whether he'll actually have permission to go into the anchorage at St. Paul. It's a little caldera, volcano caldera, little pass to get in there. Very hard to anchor. He wants to, check, scrape the barnacles on the boat. So we'll just see what evolves out of that. As I say, we're not sure yet. They're trying to get some permissions and see what the reality is there. You might have already heard that Captain Coconut here was successful in his endeavour to get a look at Gregor's boat, and he did that late yesterday. I managed to get some photos, got right alongside it, had a look. It's floating high. The AIS beacon was working. Mark picked it up on his transponder about 2 miles out, and he's now left the scene, and he was happy to be there, and he's on his way now to the over to the east again, heading towards Hobart. So these guys, their weather in the next couple of days, if I just go back, we'll wipe them out, get this out of the way pretty quickly. So it's 9 o'clock there. This is about 24 hours later. It changes for Igor. He's going to have slight headwinds here. I'll just zoom that in. He's going to have some headwinds, which will frustrate his attempt to get into St. Paul. Same with Mark. This whole thing is going to move up, and he'll have a southerly, but he'll be able to go out on starboard tack, and it'll be a little bit forward of the beam. It'll be quite fast because it's relatively light. If we come forward another day or so, I'll quickly zip this through. Some frustrations here for Mark. Igor will be looking all right, but it's still going to be slow progress. There's no doubt this part of the Indian Ocean is very mixed up right now. And again, you can see it's going to go northerlies, but Mark will probably be trying to get through this hole again. So it's still going to be slow progress out to the other side. This is another day ahead. Looks as if it might get organised then, but if Igor's back here on the island, he'll be struggling to get out if he stopped for a day or something to clean the boat and carry on. So the good news is that even if I scale back here, there's no big storms in their way. This is the 40th parallel that we suggest entrance should stick with. A bit more breeze, favourable breeze that direction, but no big surprises there. So we'll now come back to real-time weather, and we'll go right across to the other side of the world, and we'll look at Jean-Luc and Mark Slats. I think we can just get him in on the scene here. Mark's moving quite well, 6.4 knots, no big surprises, nice sailing, he's enjoying it. You've probably seen his tweets. The same with Jean-Luc. His biggest disaster was he smashed his breakfast cup, which I think has done more than one voyage around the world. He's quite upset about that. He called it a catastrophe, but I'm sure he's got another cup there. There has been there's a couple of things happening. We'll try and do both of these. If we come forward a day, here's what's going on. Jean-Luc is actually making good progress to the east. He's doing 6 knots at the moment. There's a bit of a northerly coming here, but Mark's just going to miss out on it. In fact, they're so spread out I can only really do one at a time, so let's just go with Mark. You can see he's made it across far enough to the east to miss most of this. He's going to get, he will have moved by the time, this is 1 day ahead this weather, Mark will then be over here, so he hasn't copped it there. And if we go forward then another day, it's all gone, so, and it's tailwind, so Mark's going to be pretty happy with that. And if we look forward again for a couple of days, no surprises, just really strong solid sailing. And again, you can see this is a very organised Pacific side of the Southern Ocean. It's what we expect over here, nothing like the frustrations of the Indian Ocean side. So it's all looking pretty good. We'll just jump it forward a few days. There's some winds coming here southwesterly. I don't know whether it's coming up. Let's see if it's coming up. No, it dies away again. So looks like Mark's going to have a good run for the next week or so. So that's enough for him. And we'll come back to real-time weather now. You see the massive system coming over here. So this is Jean-Luc today. I'll pick that up a little bit. It's a toss up here to get the most to see what's happening with the weather. So we go forward a day. He's got good conditions, following breezes, nice and strong. He'll be doing 6s and 7s out of that. We go forward another day. That's 2 days. Great, fantastic pushing breezes, so that's going to kick him along again. He won't be complaining. He'll be reveling in that. We'll go forward again. Another day. This is day 4. Right, this is where it gets interesting, because previously this big system was further back. Now this is day 5, so it's day 2, so 3 days. If we look at, Jean-Luc's going to have 350 mile days, so it's about 450 miles. So if I do a distance measure from there over to here, and we've got to go 450 miles, so in 450 miles it's going to be a race. This is about where Jean-Luc is going to be. He's going to be, he'll miss this coming through, right? It will have completely formed in behind him, but it's going to get very interesting. So 3 days from now, it'll depend what changes with this big low pressure system. It's a massive system. If we look back at it, I'll just scoop it back here. You can see this is really big. You know, it's 1,000 miles across or more. And this is the strong quadrant. So Jean-Luc's going to be in the middle of it. He's got to get through this band, assuming this system develops the way they're forecasting. And then if we, I'll just zoom back in size so we can get a bigger picture of it. So let's now estimate he's there. Now I've got to take this off to get the wind back so we can move it forward. So just remember he's in this position right here. In fact, I'll leave my finger there. And I'll animate this with single clicks. Hang on, got to just hit that to do this trick. Hit the slider scale, and then I can use the right button. 1 hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because by this stage he's going to be over here. So if this holds true, Jean-Luc is just going to miss out on a 60, 65 knotter with all the bits. You can see but it might form up again. He might get a bit here, so it's twisting around. He'd be in about this position now, something like that. So anyway, you never know. It's 3 days ahead. It could all change. Jean-Luc could end up finding himself in the middle of his first big one coming up. So we'll watch that with great interest. But for now, the next few days, it's all pretty straightforward. So nothing to worry about. And by then, we will have done another update anyway. So let's now go back to the current situation with 2 boats in Port of Refuge seeking shelter. Tapio in the middle of a quite a substantial blow, and actually doing really well in the management. You know, it's very hard for us when we give suggestions on entrance where to go in terms of chasing away from a storm. You know, you never know it's going to be right, because you never know whether the storm is going to do what's forecast, you know, when you're looking at it 2 or 3 days ahead. And this one's pretty much doing what it's supposed to do, except for now, just in the last 12 hours, it has dropped down a little bit to the south. So if we just pick this up in size, you can see here, these blue areas here means it's forecasting 50, 55, which means it's gusting higher. And it's all from the west. And we suggested at this point for Tapio, if he can make northeast, he's going to pass it. It'll pass by him a lot quicker, and I'll explain this in a minute. And that tactic's working. In fact, I'm really surprised that at the moment he's managing to make 5.5 knots still to the northeast. Usually when you get these big winds, you have to run directly downwind, you know, but he's still managing to get up there, because I told him, I said, the higher you can get now, the quicker it's going to go under you and you'll get out of it faster. So he's doing a really good job. He sent us a text message, which you may have seen on the previous post, sounding quite relaxed when it was daylight. It's dark now over here. And he was saying he enjoyed the sunrise, spectacular scenery, you know, it's obviously really epic. And he said the barometer was going up, which is correct, because the front has now moved through, and it means the center is moving away. So the center of this blow has now dropped further south. In fact, it's way down here, you know, right down under 50, that's 55 south. It's dropped down probably about at least 6 or 7 degrees on where it was supposed to be. That's good news for Tapio, but it's not going to be so good news for Uku, which I'll show you in a minute. So, so just looking at this as it moves forward, it's now, in fact, I'll do it hour by hour so you can see roughly how much longer he's going to be in it. This was his time at 800 UTC, so it was an hour or so ago. So I just click every hour, so it's moving pretty quick. There's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, 4, 5, and you can see it's still holding up. 6, 7, 8, 9, and at that point it's starting to die off. 9, 10. He'll be a little bit higher at that stage. He'll be up here a bit because that's 10 hours doing that course. And you can see, because he's up higher, if he was down lower, if he had kept coming down here, he'd still be in this band. He's going to move out of it a bit quicker. So he's probably got another 10 or 12 hours, and then it'll start to die down, and he can then pull back on course and start heading for Hobart. But the interesting one then for him is what happens to the sea state. So we'll leave this. This is now 2 o'clock on the 3rd, so that's nearly, what's that, 14 hours later. If we look at the wave height, this system has picked up quite a substantial amount of sea. This is anything that's this grey area is 9 metres forecast, so it means it can go up to 12 metres. So he's already in it now, and then as we bring it forward, you can see because he's higher, he's going to get out of the sea a bit quicker as well. But bearing in mind, so it drops off pretty quick. That's where the wind was dying. If we go back to the wind now, that's the danger zone too. That's where when the wind drops and they've still got the big sea, if I come back a bit, that's where the seas can get very challenging. So you know, we're obviously he was comfortable with his last message. His rig is one of the strongest in the fleet. He has 12mm diameter cap shrouds, for those sailors out there that understand that. The most people have is usually about 10mm or even less than that, but his rig is substantial. He's got 3 effective forestays. So I'm feeling good for Tapio, but it's certainly, I'm sure he'll have a couple of stories to tell when he gets to Hobart on that one. And we're obviously on standby. You know, they can ring us anytime, and we live with 4 phones. And you know, anyway, so we're all thinking about Tapio, but the good news is for him, it's gone further south. We won't worry about Istvan and Susie for the moment. We'll go straight over to Uku. We'll come back to Susie and Istvan, and we'll look at his situation right now. So we've got the wind. This is the weather he's got here. Now, previously, when Uku was up here, the forecast for this storm was that it was going to come through here and just keep working up to the right up through the system. It was going to come right up through here. So he was thinking, oh, should we go northeast or what? And I said to him at the time, you know, when we were discussing it, this blow is going to go right up there. So we both agreed that the best thing to do was to go southeast and try and get under it, because it was going to pass through this way. So the idea of Uku getting under it was as simple as that. And even up to 24 hours ago, that was looking possible. Even 12 hours ago, this morning, when we got up, it's all looking good. By the time it got to him, it was going to be about 30 hours later. He would be down here somewhere, and the maximum distance south for this blow was projecting to be no further south than this 50-degree latitude line here. And it meant that Uku was just going to beat it. Now, in reality, what's happened is the system has actually moved further south, and it's got bigger in area. Okay, so if we, I'm trying to think of the best zoom here, because I know a lot of you are looking at it on mobiles. If we go forward 12 hours from now, that's 900 UTC there. We'll go 12 hours ahead. That's a bit over 12 hours. You can see at that rate, if this was his position, he'd be right in the thick of it, but he's making about 5.5 knots. He's going to do 120, 130, maybe 140 miles from this position here at this time. So if we go there and we go here, we put this one on Uku's position, and then I pull this down to about 140 miles on that course. That's about where he will be at the time this blows here. So he won't be there. He'll be down at this point, not quite in the corner. So just remember that. Oh, just remember this grid here. Okay, he's right in the corner of that. I'll just go, oh, well, that's now changed it a bit, but that's where he'll be. I'll try and hold my finger on again. And this is where it's got unfortunate for Uku. We go back to the wind. We're there. If we then go forward another, that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, another 3 hours, right? He's going to be sitting, I'll just pick this up here. He's going to be sitting around about here on the end of it. So it's going to go, but it's still going to sweep across him. Now I'll go hour by hour. So if I hold that there, you'll see it comes through very fast. So let's say he's getting 55 knots there. At the moment we've got 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and it's dying off. So it's very quick. and it's all from the same direction. The direction of the wind, the strong wind, is always from the same direction, which is good for sea state. It doesn't make dangerous seas, it just makes big seas. And if we go backwards on that, I think the tactic in the end is still okay, because if he had have been, say, heading straight for it over here, as it comes across, he would have been through all of this as well. So it's still working out better to be down here than if he had have been sailing across and been here to go through it. But it hasn't worked out as good as we'd hoped. He should be right. We'll be sending him a message after this, just saying, just be ready for it. You're going to get about 5 hours of it. So, so it's been good for Tapio, and it's been a bit worse for Uku. Now, this is the situation now with Istvan and Susie. I think most of you have probably seen this. You can see where it is. I'll put their tracks on here, so we get a good look at where they went. Then we'll go over to I'll go over to Navionics here, just so you can see where they are and where Istvan went to, and the bay that he's in. I just zoom it up again another time here. You can all do this yourself on the tracker. This is Southeast Cape down here. That's the bottom southeast tip of Tasmania. Istvan came up here and looked into Research Bay, and I haven't heard the whole story, but he sent a message, you'll see it on his satellite tweets, that he had real challenges trying to get in here. I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, we thought then when he came out he was going to go up Doncaster Channel and head for Kingston Beach, but as soon as he got off of this little inlet here, which is a recommended anchorage, Southport Beach here, it's a really nice well-known holiday spot. That's where he's decided to hole up to wait the weather. He's anchored up in here. There's a picture we put in on the bay. The wind's not due to, in fact I'll check that, but it's we think the wind's due to settle down on Saturday night, late Saturday night or very early Sunday morning. So we'd expect this one to get out of here and start heading up, probably inside. I'll just shoot back this so you can see how all this works. This is Bruny Island here. There's a very good tourist spot in Tassie. Got a lot of things happening over there. He can actually come up on the inside here. He can go track through here, so there's no sea. If the wind's still there and it's blowing from the west, he's got a bit of a breeze. He can sail through. You pop out through the end there, and the film drop point is just here at Kingston Beach. Okay, so that's what's happened there. And Susie has she came out of the film drop, came down here hopefully tonight, and she's come back in here to get into Safety Cove, which is in Port Arthur. This is a very world famous area up in here, with a part of the history of the place a couple hundred years ago. There's a convict settlement there. You know, most tourists come to Tassie, go to Port Arthur and do a few things. Anyway, Susie's in this little bay right on the edge. I'll keep zooming it up. You've seen the pictures and everything there. She's actually moved here, and it shows you where she dragged her anchor and she moved. So when she came through, she sailed around here, came in, and she dropped her pick just there. But this afternoon she let us know that the anchor dragged, all right, so she dragged out, and she's now come around and set up for this strong westerly, and she's anchored right up on the beach. So she's there, and the wind's going to come offshore, so she's looking pretty good. And if I and it's an easy to get out of this one as well. If I come back to satellite, you can do this. You can see the beautiful beach that she's on. Quite a spectacular place. It's a sandy bottom. I know she's got a CQR. It should actually hold pretty well, and I think she's come in here. It was a bit deeper. She's come in to drop the anchor in shallower water to give her better fetch and hopefully not drag tonight. It's been raining here. I don't know whether she's caught any rain. I'm hoping she has. They should have had some rain. She should have had quite a bit of rain, and the boat's stable, so maybe she's caught a lot of water. That's the good news. But as you've seen from the tweets, she's having a hard time with just sitting there doing nothing, when she'd much rather be chasing Uku and chasing Mark Slats and even trying to have a go at Jean-Luc. But it's not worked out that way. So at the moment we're comfortable with the idea of Susie and Tapio. Tough calls on both of them. Tapio will have to sail up and come to the gate. Istvan, not Tapio. Istvan will have to come up to Kingston Beach where the gate is, and spend at least 90 minutes there. So we get his films. We'll do the live Facebook from there. Jesse went down and actually did some drone flying around Susie today. We might go down and try and catch him down there tomorrow, I'm not sure. But we'll do all the live Facebook stuff when he gets up here to Kingston Beach. The interesting thing then will be, if we go back here and zoom out, will be the timing of Tapio. He's over the side here. Let's do a distance. So we just click him on there and click him on there. Let's say by the time the storm's over, he's going to be up around here somewhere. So that puts him about 350 miles away. So that's going to be a bit over 2 days if he's got reasonable sailing. So it's now Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. So I would imagine he'll probably be in on Monday morning. That means that Istvan, if he gets out Sunday morning onto the film drop Sunday afternoon, he may well decide to sail away Sunday night. Istvan could be away Sunday night. Tapio will be in Monday morning. He could get there Sunday night, I'm not sure. And Susie will have got a head start on him. She'll probably be away first light on Saturday. So it's a whole new race for these three, which is amazing when you think about it. But that's the nature of the GGR. You know, the world's never seen anything like it. Very sensible decisions from sailing perspective. They've still got a long way to go. You know, a lot of contrast. You've got Uku still facing the storm. You've got Jean-Luc over the other side, you know, going crazy. You've got Mark Slats in a whole different world. It's pretty incredible. There's only 8 still left sailing, and we want to see all 8 get across the line. So we're pretty happy with the decisions they're making, and we're all thinking about Tapio for now. So that's really about it. Thanks a lot, and we'll keep you updated. See you later.